I am really excited for Daredevil Born Again. However, there's one asterisk and one thing I want to discuss that's I just need to get off my chest is just a one bad thing about the show in an otherwise awesome show. So when they were making the first season of Daredevil uh, on for Netflix, made by Marvel Television, they cast Charlie Cox. Now, I think Charlie Cox does a great performance as Daredevil. However, it's just simply put unethical for a sighted person to play a blind character. And I do want to ask you to subscribe Daredevil, Born Again, all these shows, Doctor Who, Star Wars, Andor, Peacemaker coming out later. Um, they announce quite a lot of stuff. They put out weekly episodes, and the best way to keep up to date with everything and to get excited for the show, if nothing else, is to hit the subscribe button. It's completely free. So if you're ready to join a community of costume lovers and and fandom lovers, then don't delay. Subscribe today. Blind characters should always be played by blind actors or actresses. And the reason for that is because blind actors always it's really hard for them to play sighted actors, right? So a blind actor is going to have a tough time playing a sighted character. And so what's left for them? Just the blind characters. And so to have a sighted person playing a blind character is just wrong because it robs blind people of actors of the opportunity. I'm using actors gender neutrally. Blind actors the opportunity to play anybody. Here's a friend of mine named Dom Evans explaining this in an interview we did years ago. And as a disabled person, he's more he's better at explaining it than I am.
When there's a disabled role, a lot of times if it's a lead role, they'll already have an actor in mind for that role. And there'll be a named actor, and they use the excuse, well, we don't have any named disabled actors that we know of. But the thing is, if you don't give disabled actors opportunities, of course you're not going to have any known disabled actors. It's a really weak excuse. Look at somebody like Steven Spielberg, who made his career on casting unknown people. And Hollywood can say, oh, we have to have a name. But there are so many films. A great example is that Kevin Hart, Bryan Cranston movie where Bryan Cranston played a disabled person and Kevin Hart was his caregiver. Kevin Hart's a big name, so is Bryan Cranston. You could have still had the caregiver be a big name and cast a disabled person. There's no excuse when you already have a big name. And there's really no excuse in general. Shouldn't it go to the best actor regardless of who they are? And I do think that we need to be training more disabled actors. I do think that there are less disabled actors than some other communities because I'm a great example. I grew up as an actor and then I'm not. Why am I not? Because I realized that there were not opportunities for me, that I was better served making films, creating those opportunities. But my heart was in theater and acting, but to just not even think you have that opportunity because of the exclusion, I hear all the time, people message me all the time saying, I wanted to be an actor, but nobody would ever cast me. Nobody would ever give me an opportunity to
Mhm.
audition. And I just realized there was no chance for me. That's a reality for disabled actors. And one of my goals has been to work with schools to get them encouraging disabled students
Yeah.
to come to their acting programs. When you move to Hollywood or New York, you inevitably start taking classes, acting classes, movement classes, accents. You want to perfect your craft. A lot of those classes are in inaccessible buildings. They are in places that disabled people are not welcome, or can't get to. Some of the prices might be really high, and if you're a disabled person living on a fixed budget because you need health care, you can't really do a lot of work to where you're making so much money. You're living on a fixed income.
Yeah.
All of these are barriers to acting. So I do think that is something that needs to be addressed, but I don't think it's where creators are saying when they use
Right.
that as an excuse of, I can't find any disabled people. There's an overwhelming amount of them that don't even audition disabled people. I also think we need to quit with this disabled roles thing, because disabled people do not usually get called in for any roles but those that are considered disabled. A disabled actor should get to audition for a role, like if they need a daughter or a person on a bus, or
Yeah.
there are a million different roles on your film set that you could audition a disabled actor for, but they only want to call them in for the disabled role.
Yeah.
And if they're not even giving the disabled roles the audition opportunity to disabled people, so they say, we got this great role, we're casting Hilary Swank, that means that disabled person doesn't even get the opportunity
Yeah.
to. It's already been given to Hilary Swank or Bryan Cranston or Daniel Day-Lewis or Eddie Redmayne or all of these actors that have played disabled characters.
Yeah, I'm filming this TikTok style because my computer it got damaged and it's not reading my microphone or camera. So this is just the way that my videos are gonna have to be for a little. Either like this TikTok style or filmed on my computer, but with the internal microphone, and the internal webcam, which aren't as good. So I want to talk about some common rebuttals to the points I'm making. So, firstly, you might say Charlie Cox is the best person for the role. Actors should always be cast based on whoever is the best person in the role. And I would agree that Charlie Cox does an awesome performance as Daredevil. However, you can't know that. You can't simply um, there's no way to know without seeing like literally every actor's audition tape who is the best person for the role. There's no way of knowing that. So to say definitively Charlie Cox is the best person for the role, you can't really accurately say that because we haven't seen aside from Ben Affleck, who was also cited, who played Daredevil in the movie, we haven't really seen other people's performances or other people's auditions for it. So the second thing I hear a lot that's um, that people say um, against the point I'm making is that because it's written well. So they'll point to, for example, Daredevil's not a villain in a show; he's the hero. They're not portraying blind people as evil, or they're not leaning into harmful stereotypes about blind people. They're writing it well, and therefore it's good. It's ethical for the show to proceed because of that. And while I agree that the writing is ethical, you also have to take the casting separately. Like those are two separate things. Just because the writing is really good doesn't make up for unethical casting. So I don't blame Disney for this. I really do blame Marvel Television because they're the ones who cast Charlie Cox once or sorry. Marvel Television is part of Disney. What I mean to say is I don't blame Marvel Studios for this and Kevin Feige and the people at Marvel Studios, because it was Marvel Television, still under the Disney Corporation, who who made the decision to cast Charlie Cox. Another way of thinking about it that I often like is that it's pretty well accepted nowadays that by the public that like you wouldn't just cast a white person in blackface to play a black person. That's like no one who's reasonable is gonna argue that. So this really the same should apply to either blind characters or like any kind of disabled characters. While I think I'm going to love Daredevil Born Again, this is something I have to grapple with, and there's absolutely nothing wrong, I think, with enjoying the show, liking the show, talking about the show, despite this. But I feel like it has to be acknowledged, and I wouldn't. Well, I don't support recasting Daredevil with the blind actor now that he's already been cast. I would if I could go back and make the decision back then when the original Daredevil shows started. I would absolutely not cast Charlie Cox, and I would instead cast a blind actor. So thanks so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button for I'll be doing reviews for every Daredevil Born Again episode that comes out. And I think that's all for this video. Let me know if you like the more TikTok style rather than the sit down in front of the studio with your webcam and external microphone and have it look professional. This is more off the cuff. Let me know which one you prefer. Yeah, that's all for today. Bye.
I also think, like, why couldn't you hire a blind person? In fact, we had a film this discussion on Twitter, and I'm certain Lexi Alexander, who directed Green Street Hooligans and has directed episodes of Supergirl and various other television shows. She said, I know blind people who can do martial art. So why didn't they hire someone like that?
Yeah.
You know, the perception that we're incapable. It's like, well, we can't hire a blind person because there's martial arts. And she said, why not? I've seen blind people fight. And she's a fight coordinator.
Yeah.
She does fight, so I would trust someone like Lexi Alexander to know this. And when she herself is like, no, why is there no blind person playing Daredevil? That to me says, and you said something that struck me as really interesting. You said a better example of disabled mimicry.
The less egregious.
I don't think there are good examples.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't think there are any good examples. That would be like saying, well, Emma Stone was okay in Aloha because the actress doesn't particularly look Asian that much, but she's still Asian, so it was okay. But that community said, no, Emma Stone is not okay. It still harms us. So I don't think that there's less, in any marginalized group. The less harmful, yeah.